Earlier in the spring, Asher was busy sowing lots and lots of different rhododendron seeds from species growing here in the garden at Cahays, which are nearing the end of their lives, and we need to urgently to propagate them and to bring on a new crop of plants to replace the old ones. Now, rhododendron seed is so tiny that one sneeze and you blow the whole lot away. But here is a pot full of rhododendron decorum, which were only sown probably three and a half months ago. And they were sown into a mixture of compost and sand, but covered over with moss, because that is how a rhododendron seed would germinate in the wild. The seed would fall down into the darkness below the plant, and there it would come to rest on a bit of damp moss, and the moss will support the young seedling growing up. So they're rather crowded in this little pot now, and it's time to get them on to the next stage and to prick them out very carefully into these little cell trays. So this is a sort of job that when you photograph someone trying to do it, almost certainly there's going to be a disaster, but we hope for the best. So there we've got one tiny little seedling with not a great deal of root, and we're just very gently slotting it into this new little cell tray. And then should we try another one? There we go. So they're tiny, but they need to be separated and potted on. And they just very, very gently tamp them in. And then we just put a little bit of water over that. So if we can just pause for a moment and look here at some seedlings which Asher pricked out earlier. Inevitably, one or two have succumbed, or they're still as tiny as they were when they were potted on, but one or two have started to race ahead. And that is normal with a crop of seedlings. Every one is individual and slightly different, and the most vigorous ones are obviously the ones you want to prick out first and pot on. And if we just pause a second and go and look at some that are a year old, this tray here is a collection of rhododendron seedlings which were potted on a year ago. Again, you see that although they're notionally the same, some are much more vigorous than others, and those are the ones which are nearly ready now to be potted on again into a larger pot. Some of the smaller ones may yet make it. Time will tell, but don't be surprised if your rhododendron seedlings grow at very different speeds. So it takes time. You're talking about 2 or 3 years to get to where we want to be. Here's another lot down here where, again, you see 1 or 2 casualties, and you see different growth speeds. You can also see some variations occurring, because as in any crop of seedlings, it's quite possible the bees got in there and brought pollen from another rhododendron, so that you get a bit of variation, and at the end of the day, you need to pick out the ones which you know look to be true to form, and the others may be some sort of hybrid which might be fun to grow on. But in the main, what you want is to get a hardy, vigorous little seedling going. You will have casualties. These all need covering with newspaper on a strong sunlit day, or they'll shrivel up and burn. You must never let them dry out, and gradually, progressively pot them on. These are sitting in a bed of water, so that they're actually watering themselves, and there's no chance of them drying out. It'll be another 2 or 3 years before those seedlings are big enough to actually go out and grow on into a nursery bed, and it'll probably be 5 years before they're, at least 5 years before they're big enough to be planted out in the garden. So it's a long, slow old process. Lots of dramas and crises and problems can occur along the way, but this is how you've got to do it, with skill, care and patience.